Factors on tonight.
I come out here today to apologize to the people of New Jersey. I am embarrassed and humiliated by the conduct of some of the people on my team.
A scandal in the Christie administration has national implications as the New York Times is labeling the governor of New Jersey a bully. Laura Ingraham and I will break it down.
Maybe the word welfare should be changed to something of a transitional living fund.
As the Democratic Party ramps up its nanny state strategy, we'll analyze the real story about why some Americans are poor.
Rules of engagement says we cannot touch them. I understand. And I don't care.
And with Afghanistan tottering, the movie Lone Survivor opens wide tomorrow. We'll talk with the man who wrote the book, Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell.
Caution, you are about to enter the no spin zone. The Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Happy 50th birthday, War on Poverty. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. 50 years ago, President Lyndon Johnson announced that America would wage an intense war to lift millions of citizens out of poverty. Johnson's vision centered on giving folks a fair chance to develop their talents in order to make a good living. It was a noble idea. But extensive analysis by the Heritage Foundation says the war on poverty has actually harmed the nation because nearly $21 trillion taxpayer dollars has been spent over the past 50 years, and the state of poverty in America has not really improved very much. If the country had handed the $21 trillion directly to the poor, given them the money, poverty would have dropped drastically. All the social engineering has failed. Writing in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, Robert Rector lays it out. In 2012, the Fed spent close to $1 trillion that year alone on 80 welfare programs that give cash assistance to about 100 million Americans. Those stats do not include Medicare and Social Security. Of course, welfare beneficiaries comprise a solid core of the Democratic Party. And so we see the Dems ramping up for this year's election by promising even more benefits in their quest for income equality. But true poverty is being driven by personal behavior, not an unfair economic system. In 1963, just 6% of American babies were born out of wedlock. Now, 41% are, and that includes 72% of African American babies. According to Heritage, single-parent homes are 4 times more likely to be living in poverty, and children raised by single parents are 3 times more likely to end up in prison, 50% more likely to be poor as adults. So maybe we should have a war against chaotic, irresponsible parents. But America will never launch that kind of war because it's too judgmental and deeply affects the minority precincts. Therefore, cowardly politicians and race hustlers continue to bear false witness that our economic system is at fault rather than bad personal decision making. Talking Points has exposed that ruse before and will again. No matter how much money the government takes from the haves and gives to the have-nots, poverty will not change until personal behavior does. Addictive behavior, laziness, apathy will all override social justice programs. Every child on this planet can learn, but parents must drive the process by forcing the kids to perform in school. Every American can work hard, and if you do, you'll make money. Every American can practice self-respect, and if you do, people will hire you. But if you're dishonest, embrace intoxicants, conceive children you can't support, act in a crude, disrespectful way, and generally believe that you are owed prosperity, then poverty may well come knocking. And all the president's men can't prevent that. And that's a memo. Now for top story tonight, reaction joining us from Washington, Robert Borosage from the Institute for America's Future, a progressive group. And here in the studio, Dr. Jeannie Zaino, who teaches political science at Iona College. So, I think I made a pretty persuasive and compelling case. And you say?
I say you did. Lyndon B. Johnson did talk about personal responsibility, but he also talked about structure and environment. And I think we can all agree personal responsibility is important. But if you don't address the structural and economic issues, all the personal responsibility won't change anything. Just as an example, I teach at a college. The cost of a college education, which is necessary to get skilled workers out in the workforce, has skyrocketed, as you know. What are we going to do? You can be as responsible as you want. If you can't get a college education, you don't have the skills you need to go out.
In the city of New York, you can go from preschool to college paying no money. You're aware of that, right? The city does give poor people here a free ride throughout all the educational precincts. You teach at Iona. That's a private college.
That's a private college.
Okay? So it's not that people can't get it. They might not be able to go to Iona. All right, but I went to Marist College, and we played Iona in football.
We're
I had to paint houses.
Yeah,
you know.
But think about another example. Things have changed since Johnson. I am a mother. When women in Johnson's time, there was about a quarter of women were running households. Now, 2/3 of women are making the money to run households. Yet we are the only industrialized country without a family leave policy, a maternity leave policy, I should say, or paid sick leave. These things are structural issues. So my point is, yes, personal responsibility is important, but the policies have to keep up with the economic times,
I mean, look,
and they have to keep up with
policies,
changes.
I don't think anybody would have any, well, I shouldn't say anybody. Targeted policies certainly can help, and so can safety nets. Kids got to be taken care of. But this massive nanny state, Mr. Borosage, that the progressives are touting in this country has led to a record debt, more than $17 trillion, and all the stats that I just gave you, the poverty rate has not really improved very much, despite all the spending. And you say?
Well, the debt, we have to go back to Wall Street blowing up the economy and doubling the debt. So let's not blame that on poor people.
I'm not blaming it on poor people. Why would I blame it on poor people? It's the government's fault. The government spends more money than it takes in. That's just what it does, and has done that for about 3 decades now. Okay,
but
war is part of that.
When we hit the economy in free fall, and the deficit went up to $1 trillion under Bush and then continued under Obama to try to keep that economy from going back into a Great Depression. That was because Wall Street blew up the economy, not because we had poverty programs.
Does the economy in a free fall lead to a 41% out of wedlock birth rate? Is that, can you link that? Are you linking that?
No, I think the personal responsibility point's an important one, but it's important to look at it in the full scope. So, since the war on poverty was announced, people have gotten much more education. You know, Head Start, aid to poor schools, all that worked to some extent. So we went from 63% of people graduating from high school to about 88% of kids graduating from high school. So people are getting better education. When families are working longer hours and putting more hours into the workforce, people are in many ways making good, responsible decisions. They're having fewer children because they can't afford them. What happened to people, however, was something very different, which was it used to be that a rising tide, as John Kennedy put it, would lift all boats. But about the mid-'70s, the tide kept rising, but workers didn't share in it. The boats in the middle didn't rise.
That's because the competition from abroad and the high-tech revolution.
It's a set of policies that we chose to react to those things.
The progressive view is that the government has got to right all these wrongs in the private sector and go in and control and tax and all of that and make sure that everybody gets a certain amount. It's just not. It's
not a certain amount, but you've got to be able to create jobs that people.
Well, look,
we don't have a
the
problem
progressive
of
view
people.
is the government should guarantee a job, and that can't happen in a private economy. It just can't.
We don't have a problem of workers who are too lazy to work for
jobs with good pay. We have an enormous underclass. We have a problem
of too many jobs that don't offer good pay for hard work.
We have a problem of people who can't do the jobs that pay high prices, but we also have an underclass that's in chaos. Go to Detroit if you don't believe me. Now, I'm going to give you the last word, Doctor. You're seeing where I'm coming from here. That Mr. Borosage is correct when he says it's tougher to make a good buck now. All right, it is. Because of worldwide competition, changing technology, you got to get tech savvy. But if you do acquire those skills, you will live well. And you must wise up. last word.
Well, I would just say that we need to make sure we have the jobs available for those skilled workers.
Is that government guaranteeing the jobs?
Well,
is that
I
what
think
you want?
No. There are ideas out there. What about the earned income tax credit? What about the free?
We already have it.
Yeah, but what about the free zones? I mean, there's a lot of good ideas that are out there to help create good jobs. But I think it starts with education, and I think it starts with giving people the skills they need and making sure the jobs are available.
Giving people the skills they need. They have to accept them, and some are not.
Well, if they go to Marist or Iona, they will.
Okay, but you better work your butt off to pay the tuition.
That's absolutely right.
You better work your butt off.
Which is why the public education should be more affordable.
And the parents have to drive the kid in, and the irresponsible parents don't.
I agree with you.
And that's the problem.
Is important.
And the government is not going to override that by putting more money into a system that over 50 years has shown it doesn't work.
But it's a system
very good,
that is
guys.
educating people better.
Good debate. Again, you have to accept the education. You have to be able to work hard to be educated, and a number of Americans will not do that. Next on The Rundown,